Life Audio.
What part do I control? What part do I control? If I can't control that, then there's no sense in worrying about it. There's no sense in taking it and ruminating on it, but I can surrender it over to God and do the things that I know that I can control.
Hey friends, Sadie Rob Huff here, and I am so excited to tell you about my new book, The Next Step, 50 Devotions to Find Your Way Forward. If you're like me, you've probably had times in your life when you felt stuck, like you were unable to change direction from your current path or unsure where you would even go if you could change course. Well, even in these moments, it's so important for us to know that we're never not moving. We're always moving towards something. I wrote The Next Step for anyone who is searching for God's purpose in their life or guidance in the season that they're in. Inside, we'll walk together through 10 weeks of devotion centered on the wisdom books of the Bible, and I'm going to share practical ideas for steps that you can take in your walk with God each day. This book is filled with scripture, reflection prompts, and even some of my favorite worship songs for you to listen to as you go about your days. I'm so excited for you to start your journey. You can get your copy of The Next Step in print, audiobook, or ebook now at Amazon or anywhere books are sold.
Check out some of the recent and upcoming episodes from the Salvation Army's Words of Life podcast. Throughout November, we're focused on missions with a panel of missionaries who share their testimonies and what they've learned about mission work over the years.
People that were Hindu, people that were Muslim. You can't form any kind of church. You can't do anything without building a relationship with those people.
And throughout December, we are so excited to be joined by worship leader and pastor April Christina Farmer as we focus on gratitude this Christmas season.
People feel that all the time, like, how in the world? Why would you let this person go? Why would you let me walk through that? Why would you allow this sickness to overtake my body? And Jesus is like, I know it's tough, but you don't know what's coming. I do. Will you trust me?
Listen to the Salvation Army's Words of Life wherever you get your podcasts, or visit wordsoflifepodcast.org.
Hello and welcome to the Encourager Podcast, where we have encouraging conversations to help you joyfully harmonize your home and work life. I'm your host, Rebecca Scott. I'm a wife, mother, designer, coach, and author. I'm here to help encourage and empower you to confidently make decisions that work for you and your stage of life, whatever that might be.
Hello, Encouragers. Today's podcast is brought to you by Just Thrive Probiotics, my go-to supplement to feel more energized and lighter. I also love the Just Thrive Calm supplement to keep my thoughts from spinning and to keep them more focused and in the moment. Use code Encourager to get 15% off by going to justthrive.com. On today's episode, we're talking about the messy middle. I am in the messy middle of my retail brand, Rebecca Scott Designs, where we design purses and accessories that are both stylish and very well organized. And it dawned on me that we listen to a lot of podcasts about how to get started. I record a lot of podcasts about how to get started. We record podcasts on success stories, but there's not as many podcasts about the messy middle and that building part of it. And I just really thought it was important to be transparent with my listeners about what the messy middle looks like for me right now in my retail brand, Rebecca Scott Designs. And so this is very transparent, very vulnerable, but I want you to gather from it what you could possibly do if you also feel like you're in the messy middle. And so that's the takeaways that I want, is that you'll go, okay, well, I'm not alone. And hopefully that you're grateful that I was able to share it, because it's vulnerable. It's vulnerable and it's transparent. But I think it's important, as much as you guys know about me and that I always want to say what I'm learning and stuff. This is something that I'm learning. So the danger in recording this podcast is I'm in it right now. And so there's probably be some things that I will change in the future or look back and go, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But the things that I've written down today, I do think are lasting, and they are things that have helped me through this messy middle. So I hope there won't be some major corrections, but it may require me going back and saying, hey, that one actually didn't work. And so just have grace for me as you listen to this podcast. This year is one for the books that I never wanted to have. I have been in business for 20 years, and you've heard a couple of the podcasts that we've done on that, celebrating that. But it's a little bit bittersweet this year because it's one of the worst sales years I've ever had. And there's several contributing factors to that, but I do just want to tell you, it's been so difficult in the cash flow and sales department for my retail brand. Some of the contributors has been that I was hacked on Facebook for 15 months. And I do want to tell you exactly what happened in case this is happening to you or you know somebody this has happened to. So we got hacked on Facebook and they removed everybody from the back end of my Facebook except Chris, who is on my team. Chris stayed there, but the rest of us got booted off. And then we had, 8 to 10 different foreign email addresses who were controlling our Facebook account. So what that meant is we could still go live and we could still post, but everything else was great. Like we couldn't boost ads, we couldn't run ads, we couldn't do certain things, we couldn't change certain things because we had very, very little permissions to do that while these hackers own the account. And as we, it could be a whole episode, but as we walked through like how to get out of it, like I hired hackers for the hackers. Eventually, in the end, I ended up contacting our state representative's office, and they have somebody that helps with this sort of thing. And then she was able to talk to Meta, who owns Facebook, and get to the bottom of it. But it took 15 months. We couldn't get into our account to make any big changes, but we could still go live and we could still post. So we were able to do that. But we went from somewhere like 700 views down to 30 views. And so our reach was just zilch, and we could not figure out why. And so we stayed the course. We did the same amount of posting that we did, but we couldn't run any ads and we couldn't boost any ads, and we were extremely frustrated. So I spent every single week contacting different companies to try and help us get out of this. Well, what we found, but not until 15 months later, we got full access back. We retained everything that was ours. It was still our property. I did not want to start new. That was a personal decision. I still feel okay that we did that. I got everything back. We're like, we do need to start running some ads because, again, our sales were so low that we're like, we've got to start running some ads. We need some fuel. So I contacted an ad company, and we're very pleased with them, and they are starting to run ads. But what we realized what happened when we started to run them is what the hackers were doing initially, because they didn't get my credit card. So we couldn't figure out what were they hacking, because we shut it down immediately, the credit card anyways. They were hacking my ad account. Okay, so they got on the back end. They started running ads on my ad account for their product, which, thank the Lord, it was nothing dangerous or gross or anything. It was a fairy wand, but clearly not our product. And they ran a $3,000 bill up on their ad on my ad account. Anyway, so what Facebook and Meta thought is that, first of all, I owed them $3,000 for 15 months and wasn't paying it. I didn't even know that because I didn't have access to my ad account and didn't open up afterwards. So I didn't know that they thought I owed them $3,000, which wasn't mine to owe them. And they thought I was spammy because when these hackers used their ad on my ad account, they did it like 65,000 times in 8 days. Like they just blasted their ad. So it looked like I was spammy, and it looked like I owed them money, which also reduced my reach because they're like, we're not going to let people see your stuff until you pay. So frustrating. So I ended up in the end, after contacting several of my advisors of what to do, like I walked through every single Meta funnel they had about hacking, because they have funnels set up, and none of them was my scenario. Like I was like, I don't need a return because it's not my $3,000. It's just sitting there, it hasn't been paid. But I do want to start running ads now, and I couldn't until that was cleared. And so I ended up walking through the refund funnel, and I did pay it. Then I made a claim that I needed a refund because those weren't in fact my ads that they ran. So finally, when I did that, Facebook listened up, and I actually got to talk to a human being, and she called, and I was able to get a $3,000 coupon or credit towards running ads. There's so many things that I could go into detail about that, but that was one of the contributing factors of why our sales just took a big dive, was the Facebook hacking. So one thing that you can pull away from this is make sure you have two-step authentication set up. And just make sure that is set up, and watch your ad accounts frequently, because this is a thing. Like as soon as I could narrow down they were hacking my ad account, I could read article after article of people, of them doing this to other people. So that was one contributing factor. Also, our economy. It's no secret right now that inflation is high. We're all like dreading everything, but that's something that I can't control. So I don't usually like to sit and make a campfire at that, because that's not what I can control. But based on the amount of sales that have been so low over this last 2 years, I did have to have a minute with it. Maybe not a campfire, but maybe a small candle burning of like, okay, a little bit of perspective here, right? So that is part of it. And then some of the projects that I started just took more time and more money than I had anticipated to run the full scope of the project, like a website changeover, some individual projects on the website and the brands, all of that. And so they costed a little bit more time and money than I anticipated. So that also contributed to where I am right now. So all that being said, what am I doing to dig out? Remember, I'm telling this in real time. So I may have to go back and say like, hey, don't do this part. But I think these are things that are sustainable as of right now and have kept me level-headed and still be able to be focused and in the moment with my family and also with my teammates. I went back to basics. So for work basics, what I ended up doing is asking the work system questions. Remember, I operate on 5 systems: family, me, food, work, and home. And the work system questions are the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So I started asking myself, okay, why do I do this work? Well, I do this work to show people when they create, they will have more joy. That's the truth. Yes, it's a purse. I happen to choose a purse, but I believe that when you create, you have more joy. And I chose purses and accessories. So that's why I do the work. Do I still want to do the work? Yes. Do I still wake up anticipating fabric and creating? Yes. And that's when I knew I still wanted to keep going. I do spend minutes in my studio, either at the end of the day or before the day begins, on my knees surrendering it. This is not mine. It's his, and he continues to bless it and grow it. Yes, it's a difficult year, but it's his. And God, I just want to create every day. Would you please allow me to keep creating? So I do surrender it to him, and then I get busy creating. Then I answered the question from the work system, when do I work? So I took a look, okay, like, when am I going to work? Do I need to actually rev up the hours that I am working to try to make up for sale? Well, I had to do a little bit more work because I couldn't justify paying someone to do it like I used to when the sales were higher. And so I went back to tagging the product a little bit more and taking one of the shipping days of the week, which is fine by me because I get to hold the fabrics and I love busy work. Because then sometimes you don't have to think about the big arching things. I'm like, I'm just going to tag this product. I'm just going to think about who's going to buy this. I'm going to put my hands on this fabric, which I love. So I did a couple of those kind of basic things of when do I work? And so I plugged in a few more hours to do those kind of things. I looked at my block schedule. I blocked in more thinking time, more time to kind of reflect and really play my CEO brain out. Like, okay, what happens if I make this decision? And I do those usually on Friday mornings and Monday afternoons because the loads are lighter. Normally Monday is my high production day, which it still is high production, but there's not as much production. So I usually found about an hour and a half in the afternoon that I wasn't sewing or kit making. So I thought, okay, well, this is going to be my CEO more thinking time and moving projects or bigger projects along that are free to move along, but that will help build the business. Then I also asked, how do I work? Well, that was simple. I work with my sewing machine. I work with spreadsheets like my cog sheet to make sure our cost is dialed in. I do a work order. That is when I put stock and design or orders on a work order. That's another way that I work. Another way that I work is with music. I work with worship music playing. I work with podcasts playing that will teach me new things. I work with the candles going, and I work with people cheering me on. Those are just answering the questions, how do I work? And then what will I work on? So that one, it was like, well, what will make sales today? What will move the needle just a tiny inch? Back to those basics. What is the most important to complete right now? And what decision is for the future? So for example, the work order is important because it's laying out the future product that I'm going to sell. So when I sit in my studio closet and I put together pieces like a Jill bag with a cute little sparkle cork, that is important because it's for future product that will sell. But tagging the products, like I talked about, I took tagging the products back. That means actually putting a price tag on them. It's just busy work. And it's fun, and you don't have to think about it. That's for sure. But it's not futuristic work. So I knew I had to prioritize what I'm working on right now will equal sales. And that would be the work order. Even though I had to do those things, I also had to keep saying like, but if what I am working on right now, moving the business along or creating a sale. So just being really conscious of that in my brain. And then where will I work? Well, that one also is easy for me. It's in my studio, but I put a little note in there. I will work in my studio with joy. So how can I put more joy in my studio? So that was turning up the worship music. That was my candles. That was keeping it clean and simple and lovely in a still place that I didn't dread, but it's a place that I felt encouraged to come into. And that actually meant keeping it a little bit tidier. When it was messier, then I felt even more in the messy middle. So I ended up spending more time tidying up at night, just so it felt a little more peaceful when I approached it in the morning.
Over 20 million fans have made Trans-Siberian Orchestra their holiday tradition. Bring the whole family and make it part of yours. The Lost Christmas Eve live in concert. Don't miss the all-new show. Coming to a city near you. Go to tsotickets.com for info. The return of Trans-Siberian Orchestra's The Lost Christmas Eve.
We're all touched by the mental health crisis, and many in our church communities are seeking support. We need compassionate Christian therapists walking alongside them through every season. Western Theological Seminary offers a master's in clinical mental health counseling, blending trauma-informed care with the rich tradition of soul care. Be part of the solution, grounded in faith. Learn more at counseling.westernsem.edu. That's counseling.westernsem.edu.
Those are the work basics that I did during this messy middle. Some of the home basics that I do because I love my work. And yes, it bleeds into my home life sometimes, and it bleeds into how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. And so I did have family meetings with my family to help explain what was going on. My girls know more about hacking and Facebook than any other kid out there. And you better believe we had a big old party and cry fest when Meta called me and told me that I was finally out of Facebook jail. Like, the girls hugged me and we all just rejoiced. It was the sweetest thing. And I can't help but think someday in their lives they'll remember what the entrepreneur journey is like and the hardships. So it's a pretty special moment. But we started thinking through some home basics for myself. So blocking in the chores, and you guys know this from listening through podcasts of mine, is that I do the laundry on Monday. On Tuesdays, we do all the bedding. Sunday afternoons, we're doing cleaning. These basics in my chores gave me so much peace. And here's why, because other things felt out of control. But doing the laundry, I know how to do. It's like, okay, Monday, I can't wait. Monday night, I'm folding laundry. I can't wait for that. It doesn't involve thinking through sales. It doesn't involve maneuvering anything. It just involves me folding the pair of jeans in front of me and thinking about this child. Like, I can't explain to you how much I started to love the home basics because they were just something that were peaceful for me because I've been doing them for so many years. Also started cleaning on Sunday afternoons because there's no room for a cleaning lady this year. Like, or cleaning service, if you will, like, that is not an option. And so how can our family pick it up a couple notches? We need to pick it up some more notches, but we're trying. So I would encourage you, if you are in the messy middle, go back to the basics, even the things that you think you won't like doing the dishes. I crave that now too, because it's just very peaceful. And a child dries the dishes next to me and another one puts them away. And the conversations that we have in those moments, I think, are very fruitful, and they soothe me. And self-care. So if we're going back to the basics, especially for my home life, okay, do I need to kick my self-care up a notch? Well, it can't be anything that costs money, but it can still be my bubble bath on Tuesday nights, still maintaining my exercise. Exercise for me is very important. It helps to just clear everything in my head. It helps me to get out frustrations. I also increased my Bible time. I actually got to finish my Bible. I think this is the third time that I have read the Bible entirely through, but this is the first time that it was as thorough as it was. Like, I really recalled what I had read, and I was very proud of that. And just increasing my Bible time reminded me of the things that are important and the priorities. God is first. How can I serve him even in this messy middle? Well, I just want to understand him more. I just want to understand other stories of other characters and how they made it through things. And so reading the Bible increased this year as I navigated this messy middle. I also made more time for worship, not just on Sunday mornings, but in a road trip. I actually set aside time where I'd go to my bedroom and I used the app Pause by John Eldredge, and I would turn on the 10-minute meditation and just pray. One of the phrases in there is, renew my unity with you, God. And I loved that phrase. And so I set timers that I would do that no matter what every day, just to put me some resilience, to allow that time for worship, to keep surrendering it over, to remind myself that he is near and he is with me. So worship definitely increased as one of my home basics plan. I also used visuals to help me sort out this messy middle. And by visuals, I mean visual tools. And I have a ton of these available on the encouragerpodcast.com. You guys, I hope, have downloaded them and used them, but I'll say them here because these tools really help me. It helped me just to stay consistent, okay? One of them was a vision board. I started to put my vision board, I used to put it in my studio and I would look at it on Fridays, and I decided that wasn't enough. And so I started putting my vision board in my closet in my bedroom, and I look at it every night before bed. And it just encourages me. It has fresh pictures on it. It has a fresh perspective. It reminds me of the things that are important. Yeah, there is a few work goals on there, but the majority of them are family goals and home goals and my own goals. And just like, where do I see myself being? Where do I see myself standing? And who do I see myself becoming? Who is most important? So I do encourage putting together a vision board. There's loads of examples out there, but put it in a place where you can see it daily. Another visual tool is the habit tracker. This is available on our podcast website as well, encouragerpodcast.com. I love the habit tracker, especially because so many things were out of my control. Some of my habits were in my control. So I've loved filling it out every month, changing some of the habits, adding habits, taking ones away, especially depending on the season and the month and what was going on. It's just been very, again, peaceful and comforting that this habit tracker is something I can make progress on, even if I'm not making progress on growing my business or scaling it or making sales. I am making progress on my Bible time. I am making progress on my pull-ups. I am making progress on It helped me to know like I am still moving the needle. And another visual tool that I really like is our Honey Huddle. And we talk about this frequently. It's on the podcast website, again, theencouragerpodcast.com. And this is a meeting Nick and I have. And they've been, again, very peaceful and comforting during this time of the unknown because we can talk through the budget. He can talk sincerely with me like, hey, how are sales going? What's the latest with the team? How are you navigating this? And then it helped us get on the same page of like, okay, some of these projects can't happen. We're really big into projects and we love them, but some of them we couldn't cash flow. And so honestly, one of them this year that was really difficult to cancel when we looked through our Honey Huddle and our budget was we canceled our bunkhouse. We are going to build a bunkhouse on the West Acres. I will repeat it again. We are going to build a bunkhouse on the West Acres of our house, and it'll be like 2/3 gym and stuff and 1/3 living quarters, so we can host youth groups and retreats and things like that. But budget-wise, it wasn't going to happen. And we wanted to build it before Gus graduates, and that was hard. That was hard. But we both reminded each other, we're still going to do this. It's just not right now. And that's okay. And when we talked to our son about it, he was like, I don't want to have it there anyways. So I don't know if he was being polite or kind, but it was a good conversation to have, and it just means for later. Both of us were kind of relieved that it wasn't working out because we weren't sure how we were going to do it anyways. And so when we felt that kind of force and that pushing, we knew like, okay, we need to sit with this. Another visual tool that I started looking at once again was affirmations. I mean, I've been doing affirmations for 20 years now, but I redid some of the affirmations to line up better with what is happening right now. So for example, one of the ones that I took on was joy is my birthright. I will rejoice no matter what. I will rejoice when the orders are high. I will rejoice when the orders are low. I will rejoice regardless of what's going on in the business. Joy is my birthright. So that was an important affirmation for me. I also added worship over worry. I have a tendency to worry. It doesn't do me any good. But worshiping always felt good and more peaceful and more calming and more productive than worrying. And so I replaced that with worship over worry. So my affirmations just changed a little bit. Look at yours and decide like, should I make some changes to my affirmations? Does this not make sense? Because some of them are just vanity affirmations, and I found some of those for myself. And I wanted to make sure they made sense with the season that I'm going through right now. Also, I highly recommend this song. I've been mentioning worship a lot, and I love this song. It's called At the Altar. And it talks about laying down your victories and your broken dreams. And I feel like in the messy middle, there are some victories, but those aren't ours. And there are some broken dreams, and those are ours, but God wants them. He wants both of them. So that song, oh man, I bet I've played it hundreds of times since this year has started. But At the Altar is a really good worship song if you're in the messy middle. So those are some of the basics that I went back to. And then here's just a couple other notes that I've been doing for work. I started to look at the numbers more frequently. You know, I say all the time, you need to know your numbers, but I look at them frequently, not hourly, but daily, to make sure I know where we stand and what I can do. If there's anything I can do to adjust things. We look at the data more frequently as a team in our staff meetings, like, okay, what is our email doing? What is our text list doing? What is the money we're spending towards ads? What is it equaling? Where are the orders coming from? Really looking at the data and not pursuing anything that takes time and energy that we don't know is already working. I've had more meetings with my accountant to really understand the options and then also the opportunities that I have. Like she can spot those out for me when I'm just too close to it. And talking about budgets for both my home and my work frequently. Like monthly taking a look at, okay, what's the home budget? What's the work budget? What are we going to do here? With that being said, I started to think through what are 5 to 7 different revenue streams that I could have for the business. I was thinking of the story in the Bible with the 3 tenants and what they do with the money and how they invest them. And they did say they tried 5 to 7 different revenue streams. And I thought, okay, what can I do for my business that would be that? So it's not like 5 to 7 different business models, but it's just revenue streams. So for me personally, I pursued influencers, in particular influencers that would take trade. And I found some of those. Then I pursued SEO because I knew that while SEO cost, it's a really long game that will keep people coming back if they could search me and find me on the website. And because of the Facebook hacking, nobody could find me. So SEO became something very important. And I considered that a revenue stream, which is a little bit not so technical, but bear with me, that's what I called it. I also started the ads. So I reached out to a Facebook agency that I'm really enjoying because that would help bring in some revenue. I started talking to my friends and family and saying, hey guys, do you need a new purse? And not in a slimy way, but in like, hey, I do have a discount for my friends and family that I consider close and in my circle. And I was like, hey, can I help you? And I don't think that is a bad thing to do. And some of them were very grateful that I like reached out and like, yes, actually I would like that. So that was one of my revenue streams. I also started picking up more shows. I've been traveling to art shows for 20 years. And I started to narrow them with the ages of the kids, which was awesome. But the truth is those do make quite a bit of money, depending on the right show and the right people that are there. And so I picked up a few of them because it's necessary right now to build some more shows up. I also started my own pop-up that was very successful, so I'm hoping to do that 2 times a year. And I started interviewing on podcasts. I'm up to 36 of them. I'm super proud of that. I started to applying to a lot of podcasts so I could tell them about my purse business and also, of course, the podcast here. And I won't know the full effect of that. Again, that's like when I'm recording this live here, I don't know what that will equal, but I feel really good about it. I feel good about the content that I put out there to encourage women and also to tell them about my cool purse brand. So those are a few of the revenue streams. What could you do if you're in the messy middle right now? Can you write down where the revenue is coming in for you? And is it 5 to 7 of them? Could you get creative with them? Could you introduce some more? Are there some that you just need to let go that are actually costing more time and energy and money than they actually bring in? Like really ask yourself that. And then this, to me, it was profound, but it was a big permission. I've actually said this a couple different times in videos on our social media, but I've started concentrating on the next 60 days instead of the whole year. I mean, it was so turbulent that we could not forecast that far out. I'm sure my accountant could because she's very skilled, but I couldn't internalize it and mentally go there. So I was like, nope, just give me the next 60 days. That was a small enough amount for myself that I'm like, okay, here's what I'm going to do in the next 60 days to stay above ground. And that just really helped me to relax and also hit the ground running, if that makes sense. Like, okay, the next 60 days, what are we going to do? Then after the 30 days, okay, the next 60 days, what's going to happen? So I still stayed on top of things, but it was a smaller chunk for me to forecast and get after. I just frequently asked myself, what in the next 60 days can I do to make this launch, this product, this podcast, or this feature better? Like, how can I make it better and just for the next 60 days? And then asking myself frequently, what part do I control? What part do I control? If I can't control that, then there's no sense in worrying about it. There's no sense in taking it and ruminating on it, but I can surrender it over to God and do the things that I know that I can control. I ask God so frequently, guide me, lead me, allow me rest because, you can get in your head so much. So please allow me rest and allow me insight. Help me to see the things that I can't see when I'm so close to it. Allow me to zoom out and see them. And honestly, I started using fewer words, but more worship. I tend to talk a lot to God, which I know he appreciates the conversation, but I started to listen more. God, show me, guide me. Back down to the one-word prayers where all you have to say is his name, Jesus. And then seek out the guidance that he's given you. Another small hack that I did was I allowed 24 hours between decisions. This is so that I don't react out of emergency mode, but I use more wisdom to decide what is best because I tend to be like, okay, yep, we're ordering that. And do you need 20 yards of it? Yep, we do. And then I'm like, wait, hold on. give me a minute. And so like being clear with my team, I just need 24 hours to think about that, even down to just like ordering supplies or sending out emails, just allowing myself more time and space, because my natural tendency would be to hustle and to make the decision quick to keep the ball moving forward. But I've learned that is not always the best for my personality type and to keep my team on their toes. It's just not fair. So slowing down my decision-making process has helped a lot in the messy middle. And then I started to concentrate on the things that will be forever. And that's my family, and that's my marriage. I love this business. I hope it's forever, but I don't know that. I know I'm going to concentrate on the next 60 days. And I know that I want my marriage to be really rich, and I want my children to have fantastic memories. I want them to be great characters, and I want them to know who God is. And so I started concentrating more on those things because they will last. So that meant like longer books at night. I linger with them in their beds a little bit more. I'm seeking to understand Nick more instead of reacting, because the messy middle can do all kinds of things to your emotions, right? And I just started to try to understand him, like as he came off, like maybe he came off really strong in his tone. I would say, okay, help me understand. What am I missing? Like, why are you so strongly opinionated in this? And then he would be able to tell me, because I was more open to hearing it, rather than just being like, fine, it's your whatever you want to do. I was like, well, help me understand so that we can communicate this a little bit better. A perfect example is our pool. We have an above ground pool. It's our version of a redneck pool out here. And I wanted the project finished because it's a project that we could control, and it's a project that we did have the budget for because we did all the labor for it. We were just going to put these wood things. We covered it in this cool fencing type thing, and we wanted to put the pretty cap on the top. Well, I wanted to finish it before the snow flies. And he was like, no, it's not going to happen. We need to get the water, blah, 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 blah. I was like, why are you so strong and like it doesn't need to happen? And then he told me. It would have been a huge argument before. I was like, just finish it. I don't care what you do or how you do it. Tell me what I need to stain, and we're getting it done this weekend, no matter what. And that's not a very pretty story, but that's the truth. And for whatever reason this year, I've been really able to listen to Nick better and understand where he's coming from. And you guys, he knows better. Plain and simple, especially if it's projects. He does know better. I know more about the visuals and what I'm looking for and kind of the look of things, but he knows the how much better. And this was a how situation. How are we going to finish the top of this pool? So if I listened and leaned into his wisdom and his request, first of all, it avoided a fight, and it actually got us closer together. I was like, listen, I'd love to finish it. You know that. You know I want to finish it and just put a nice neat bow on it. But I do have to respect that you might know something about this wood that I don't. And so if that's what you choose, I'll support you. And just those few sentences, both of us relaxed. And I don't think it's going to be done. We're going to wait a little bit and trust what Nick has planned. So in conclusion, thanks for allowing me to be vulnerable. Thanks for allowing me to share what's going on in this messy middle. Take from it what you will. In the next 10 minutes, think about the basics. If you're there too, like what are the basics that you can go back to? Maybe using some of those visual aids that we talked about, like the Honey Huddle or affirmations or a habit tracker. What are some visual cues that you can have to help you through what you can control, and maybe just the next 60 days and not this whole next year? And surrender, you guys. I mean, I haven't had to make any of the major decisions as far as like quitting, because I don't want to do that. And I don't feel like God is telling me to do that, but I've made some other major decisions. And so what does that look like for you? How can you surrender and say, God, take it, guide me. What would you like me to do with what is in front of me right now? That being said, I have to end the podcast with telling you something cool about my purses and accessories. They're awesome. I love creating them. I love my team of seamstresses. They're amazing. I've loved doing this for 20 years. And so I have a special gift for you guys. If you would like to design something that's both super, super stylish, really well organized, and that will say something about you and why you picked out those finishes, if you use the code ENCOURAGER at designyourownpurse.com, you will get $10 off your order of $85 or more. And can you do me this favor? As a small business owner, the best way of advertising is word of mouth. And so if you will forward this podcast to your friends and family that you think maybe they're going through the messy middle, if you'd be so kind just to forward this to them, I would greatly appreciate it. As I muddle through the messy middle here, I hope this message has been encouraging to you. And if you have any questions about your own small business or you're working through the messy middle, I'd love for you to reach out to us on our social media channels or by emailing us. I'd love to talk. Until next time, encouragers, we got this because he's got us.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If the Encourager podcast has helped or encouraged you in any way, please subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star review. and then help us spread the message of encouragement and hope by sharing the podcast with others. Ready to bring more organization and joy into your life? The Encourager Academy helps you harmonize your home and work life through our online course and coaching programs. Our 5-system approach, me, food, family, work, and home, tackles your biggest obstacles, offering lifetime access to video lessons and guided worksheets. Learn at your own pace with practical tools and strategies. Enroll now at encourageracademy.com and use code WeGotThis for $50 off. Are you ready to finally create systems that help you thrive in both home and work life? Join my 10-week coaching cohort designed for busy women like you. Together, we'll create customized, foolproof systems for managing your home, business, and personal life with joy and purpose. With live coaching, practical tools, and a supportive community, you'll leave feeling organized, confident, and in control. Don't wait. Spots are limited to 10 women. Visit encouragerpodcast.com to apply.
There's no better way to start your day than spending time in God's Word and in prayer. Don't know where to start? We have a free daily prayer podcast created to help you do just that. The Your Daily Prayer podcast delivers a thoughtful devotional and timely prayer to you 7 days a week. Gain inspiration, faith, and encouragement with daily messages in 10 minutes or less. To start listening now, search Your Daily Prayer on your favorite podcast app or visit lifeaudio.com.